So, what's actually real and what's just a bunch of hype when we talk about the future of banking? Well, let's dig in and find out. We're going to break down the What's Going On in Banking 2026 report from Cornerstone Advisors. And it's a really sharp look at the tough choices the entire financial world is wrestling with right now. Right off the bat, you know this isn't going to be some stuffy, formal report. The author, Ron Shevlin, kicks the whole thing off with a line from Four Non-Blondes. It just perfectly sets the tone, you know? It's direct, it's a little irreverent, and it's ready to take a hard look at the industry. And this line right here, it really frames the whole conversation perfectly. The report paints this picture of bankers as Dorothy from The Wizard of Oz, lost in some spooky forest, chanting about the big, scary things they see lurking in the shadows: AI, crypto, and fraud. And honestly, what a perfect way to describe how things feel right now. All right, so that's exactly what we're going to do here. We're taking that walk through banking's spooky woods, and our mission is pretty simple. We need to figure out which of these monsters are actual real-life threats, and which ones are just, scary-looking shadows. But here's the first surprise we find in the woods. Even with all this scariness, a whopping 84% of banking executives say they're optimistic about the year ahead. Which kind of makes you wonder, right? If everyone's so lost in these spooky woods, why are they all so confident? Let's find out. First up on their journey is the biggest, buzziest creature of them all, artificial intelligence. I mean, the hype around AI in banking has been, well, it's been impossible to escape, and the promises have been even bigger. And just look at what the hype sounds like. You've got these huge firms like McKinsey and Accenture throwing out these wild numbers that AI could automate half of all banking tasks or slash costs by 30%. Numbers like that, they definitely get your attention. So, of course, the big question is any of that even close to reality? Well, the report digs into what's actually happening. And as you can probably guess, it's a little more complicated than that. Now, on the surface, you see this chart and you think, wow, okay, things are getting better. The number of banks that feel their data strategy is very effective nearly tripled in just 1 year. That seems like a massive step in the right direction, doesn't it? Yeah, no, not so fast. The report's author comes right in and says, hold on, I'm just not buying it. And this is where we really start to see that gap between what people think is happening and what's actually happening. Because here's the hard truth. Your AI is only as good as your data. It's that simple. If your data's a mess, well, your strategic planning is just wishful thinking. Your marketing doesn't work. Your credit analysis is shaky. Basically, without a rock-solid data foundation, any big AI project is pretty much dead on arrival. So instead of chasing these huge, hyped-up goals, the report lays out a super practical 3-step playbook. Forget the hype. Focus on what actually works right now. Use AI for knowledge management to help your staff find answers fast. Use it to automate simple, repetitive tasks. And use it to help your employees with their own productivity. These are the real wins. Okay, let's keep walking. The next shadowy figure in the forest is crypto. And if there's one area that's just filled with confusion and contradictions, this is it. There's a serious disconnect here. Just look at this. Only about 29% of banking execs see crypto companies as a real threat. So a huge majority, almost 3/4 of them, are basically shrugging their shoulders at companies like Coinbase, thinking they're in a totally different business. But while they're shrugging, look at what Coinbase has been up to. In just 1 year, they rolled out an everything app for finance, launched a payments platform, partnered with huge banks, and started building tools for big institutions. They are not staying in their lane, they are sprinting directly onto the bank's turf. So you can see why everyone's so confused. It leaves you wondering, what is the right move here? Do you stick your head in the sand and hope it all just goes away? Or do you dive headfirst into this crazy, volatile new world? And this is where the report really clarifies things. It says, hey, you're all asking the wrong question. The debate isn't about stablecoins versus tokenized deposits. That's not the choice. The real strategic decision is to figure out what your specific customers actually need and then decide which of these tools, if any, can help you deliver that. All right, our final monster. This one is an old foe, but it's learned some scary new tricks. We're talking about fraud. And its true cost goes way, way beyond what you see on a balance sheet. 6 in 10. Just let that sink in for a second. 6 out of every 10 banks expect their fraud-related losses are actually going to increase in 2026. This problem is not getting better. It's getting worse. And here is that hidden cost. It's not just about the money you lose in a fraud incident, it's about the trust you lose. Think about it. When a customer has a great, smooth experience getting a fraud issue resolved, they trust you more. But if it's a nightmare, that trust is gone, and they'll just stop using your products. That experience is everything. So, we've walked through the woods, and we've faced AI, crypto, and fraud. But it turns out, according to this report, none of them are the real monster. The biggest, scariest danger lurking in the shadows is something else entirely. It's what the report calls the action gap. And it's basically this huge canyon between what banks say they're going to do with technology and what they actually end up getting done. It's the gap between ambition and execution. Let me make this super clear. For example, take a look at this. In 2025, 17% of banks told us they were planning to roll out a new consumer loan origination system. A pretty big project. And the reality? Only 7% actually did it. Not even half. That difference, that space between the 17% who planned and the 7% who delivered, that is the action gap. That's the real monster holding everyone back. So when you boil it all down, what's the big lesson here? It's simple, and the report borrows a line from the great James Brown to say it. Get up off of that thing and do something. Because the biggest risk isn't picking the wrong AI strategy or the wrong crypto play. The biggest risk of all is doing nothing. The only real question left is, what are you going to do?